Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the anime Anohana, the flower we saw that day. And I like this anime, but there were problems with it that were kind of new to me. Usually whenever I see an anime or like a movie, I'm usually like, wow, this pacing is like too slow or too fast. Whereby it's too slow and it either drags out or it's too fast and we don't get as much development or exploration of what's going on within the story as the plot has that, but they just don't do it for some reason. I kind of find that this is what happens with this anime. I mean, I still like what's going on in the exploration of an early childhood death and the effect that it has on this group of friends. But it is not equally weighted between all these group of friends. I understand that because certain anchor characters are more pivotal to what's going on in the plot. But to be fair, this whole group of friends should have been the anchor character and had been explored more thoroughly. It seems like there is a middle ground of like, hey, do we want to make an anime movie or do we want to make an anime series? And they kind of like went, let's split the difference and make an 11 episode anime. And then maybe at some point make a sequel movie, which they did. I didn't see that, but I might look into that eventually. It's really kind of weird. I think that they did a good job of trying to like explore certain kinds of emotions and everything of what's going on, but there are other plot choices that just was really kind of going, okay, this is just almost kind of trying to make conflict for the sake of conflict. So the whole plot deals with this group of friends and the death of their one friend, Menma. And that had been like 5 years previously. And we get into it and we see that the friends have all broken up apart and that we start off with the one, Jintan, as he starts seeing Menma. And the thing is, she's not as she was when she was dead. She's more around their age. And he starts trying to figure out why. At first, he thinks it's like stress and everything because he's pretty much become a hermit and doesn't go to school and all that kind of stuff, even though one of his former friends, Anaru, is trying to get him to come back to school and all that, and actually really likes him. And that's kind of where we start getting into this really messed up kind of love triangle thing, because evidently back in the day, they pretty much asked Jintan if he had feelings for Menma, pretty much said that how could I like her, and stormed off, and then set off the chain of events where Menma evidently fell into a river or whatnot and died. And everybody pretty much feels responsible for that. And now we don't really explore like two of the characters like Popo and Suriko don't really get explored in that avenue until like almost the end of the series. But the main impetus is trying to find out what her wish was and get her into heaven. And this factors into what she wants as well, because she wants to be reincarnated and be with her friends again. Because that's what she learned from Jintan's mother before she died. And we see him going through and trying to figure out all this kind of feelings and all that. And the thing is, we see that like Anaru liked Menma, but was jealous of her because she was in love with Jintan. We see that Yukiyatsu was in love with Menma and was trying to pretty much usurp that kind of Menma's affection from Jintan. We also eventually find out that Jintan does in fact love Menma and that she loves him as well. Popo he dropped out of school and has been traveling the world because he's just trying to do stuff, and he feels bad because he felt like he didn't do anything to help his friend, and that was what's freaking him out. He was the first one to kind of believe that Jintan was seeing and hearing Menma. And everybody else kind of had to have been brought around to it. Yukiyatsu's the main kind of asshole antagonist on that front, and he is not handled really well. Like, I almost question what the fuck he is doing in this group. Now, that's mainly because of how he is presented and how it kind of does what how he's presented and how his voice is. His voice just oozes being an asshole. He has this inferiority complex with Jintan to such a degree, he just comes off as an asshole. Now, granted, his is kind of the most deep-seated kind of crazy shit because I don't. Jintan at least hermited himself and then was like, hey, I can see and talk to Menma. This motherfucker was going out and buying gifts for Menma, like a dress, and he has a wig, and he talked to it, and shit, and he actually dresses up as Menma to try and fuck with the people, and I understand it goes into how messed up he is, but it's not that explored, which I was like, I kind of want to explore this, because I'm kind of freaked out right now, and I kind of want to see, like, this kind of resolved, but it kind of just happens, and then everybody kind of leaves it. So, we've got Anaru being in love with Jintan. We got Jintan being in love with Menma. We got Yukiyatsu being in love with Menma. We got Suriko being in love with Yukiyatsu. And then, of course, getting jealous of Anaru because as they're going around and finally being brought into the fold of what's going on, because at one point they get Menma's diary from her mother, who, spoiler alert, hates the kids because they survived. And her daughter died. I'm like, that is fucked up. That, but again, not much of it is explored. It's just kind of like, it really goes in the pacing issue. I'm just like, because they all came to like bring up the whole thing about the fireworks because they get into a point. Jintan's doing all this stuff. He's like, okay, I'll go to school. Okay, that's not it. How about we do the rocket idea? Because they were going to send a letter to God about Jintan's mother. Like, hey, maybe that would work out. They get into a point where they're trying to do that out, but of course, Menma's father puts the kibosh on that, but that was because Menma's father puts the kibosh on that because of Menma's mother. Oh, it's kind of crazy. But eventually they're able, Yukiyatsu confesses his love of Menma to the father to get him to say yes to the firework. We see that Menma's brother is having issues because his mother's only grieving for Menma and only does that stuff all day and doesn't really pay that much attention to him. Like, God damn. So there's a lot of things going on, but certain things are delved into more like Jintan's whole. He's the one that we're mainly focusing on and following through. Then about like Anaru, Yukiyatsu, Popo's just there in the back until he talks about his stuff. But they try and get money. Jintan works part-time to do everything, and he's killing himself. And then Anaru pretty much confesses her feelings to him, and he really does nothing with it. Now, granted, it just kind of keeps going on, but it's like, alright, we see that Suriko gets pissed off with Yukiyatsu kind of trying to put the moves on Anaru, and is even more hopeless because she knows that Yukiyatsu will never love anyone except Menma, but we start getting into it and focusing more on what's going on. They do the fireworks, but Menma doesn't disappear, and we find out that her wish is like Jintan's mother's wish of not having Jintan bottle up his emotions, and she's like, alright, I'm gonna teach him how to cry, pretty much. And we see that the friends like meet back up without Menma as she's kind of getting ready to disappear, and they're all crying and everything and pissed off at themselves because they think that all the different kind of thoughts of what they've done didn't work to help her move on. So like, alright, let's go talk to her, but she's getting ready to disappear. Jintan takes her back up to the secret base that they've got, and he loses the ability to see her, and she plays it off as doing like a hide and seek kind of thing, but she's able to write out her last messages to the friends, and they are all able to see her at the end and say goodbye to her as she goes to heaven. So that was a nice one at the end, and then we see that everybody kind of works out a little bit. Jintan decides to go to school and acts at least a little bit more friendly to Honor. It's pretty much up to whatever you think if they get together, because Yukiyatsu and Suriko pretty much get closer together, and then Popo is trying to study and work part-time at the same time. So the ending stuck better than I thought it would, but it either should have been more condensed and that way it had a better pacing and a better flow. I don't think that all of the different kind of love entanglements needed to be there because seriously, in one group of friends to have that many love entanglements, holy shit, it would have been fucking horrendous. I'm like, oh Jesus, it it's almost like, okay, I can understand certain kind of love things, maybe like a couple. This is like getting to a point where like, all right, this is just almost trying to initiate a shipping war kind of effect. And that's mainly just because of the depth that we had for the certain things. You're like, oh, okay, since Menma's moved on because she wanted to get reincarnated and play with her friends again, we'd see that probably Jintan and Anaru would get together, and Suriko and Yukiyasu would get together. And Popo would just have to deal with it. He really gets nothing. Yep, that character gets nothing. Sorry, just actually thinking about that. That's like, okay. Mm-hmm. Jintan at least, like, he'd probably still be connected with his friends and probably brought back into the group, but he gets kind of like, huh. So, I liked the ending. I just wish that the journey there had been a little bit better and that maybe there had been other episodes to kind of delve into certain things, like Anaru's jealousy, Jintan trying to figure out his feelings of, oh, I'm the only one that can see her, versus like, shouldn't I be trying to help her so that way she can see everybody? Like that kind of effect. He does have that, but it's not really focused on as much as I'd like. And, or as much as the story could use. This was a weird one. I mean, I'd heard good things about it, and I really wasn't terribly disappointed. More just like, how to put it? I mean, I could put a rating system on it, but it really doesn't do an effect. I'm like slightly frustrated because, again, I think most of its potential was executed well enough to recommend this to people to watch. Be like, yeah, it's kind of a anime that'll make you hit the feels, but it's not like one that's going to have you just like bawling your eyes out intensely to where you're like, I am dehydrated myself. I am a prune. But it's just the characters had a lot there for better depth to be explored, and it just wasn't that. I always hate that. I would rather see like a full potential of something done, good or bad, rather than to see that potential kind of left on there. It's more like, come on, like I know it sounds stupid, but almost to the point of like I would love a Full Metal Alchemist effect. Like if something came out and you're like, okay, mostly good. And then you see Full Metal Alchemist Brother and you're like, damn. Not saying that the other one's shit. Fuck no. But like, okay, that did a lot more things and explored a lot of different things. And I'm like, yes. There's, this is like the first one that I'm like, okay. There's only certain mediums where I'm like, alright, there needs to be a redo on something. Game of Thrones being one of them. But this one could deserve one to just explore more things and just flesh out the characters and everything, though I wouldn't change the ending at all. Just have it so that way we've got a more, that would just add to the impact of the ending, seeing all these different things come into effect and explore more of their characters. So those are my, well, in recommendation, I would recommend this if, you just kind of want to see a slice of life and see characters dealing with loss and moving on. It isn't really as deep as it could be, but it's deeper than most of the stuff that can be out there. And it's only 11 episodes, and then of course the movie. So I would definitely recommend watching this. Not if you're like into gory or anything kind of stuff, because there's really no gore, really no scary stuff. So if that's your kind of deal, this really wouldn't be for you. But if you're more into kind of more hopeful kind of stuff mixed with your sad, kind of bittersweet, this would definitely be up your alley. So those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.